I didn't have it set up. There we go. You know what? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's new episode of X Vlog Live. I'm your unprepared host, Mr. BoomStick XL. Ladies and gentlemen, so you're asking me, Boom, how are you so unprepared? You knew this show was happening at 12. Look, truth be told, Tyler is staying over for the entire weekend. And when you have a 16-year-old that's going to stay over, you got to prepare, right? So I'm cleaning, I'm working out, I'm doing the things that we're supposed to do. I'm preparing for tomorrow's show. And I had this thing set up ready to go since 10 o'clock this morning. And of course, I had the wrong intro. But listen, it's X Vlog Live. I'm Mr. Boomstick. I'm here with Corkenstein. So listen, Corkenstein, amazing community member, and we'll get into what he's doing with his shows on the back end. You're wondering, well, where is C Mustard? I'm sorry, C Money. Where is C Money? Well, C Mustard, unfortunately, is doing stuff for his channel. And next week, he is also celebrating his daughter's birthday. So he's going to take a couple of weeks off from this show. I will have a rotating chair of community members or a member to join me for the next couple of weeks. But he, of course, is not left the show. He will be back. He's just handling his own channel's business as he should. And, of course, next week celebrating the family. So we're here today with Corkenstein, folks. We have an outstanding show for you. 2 topics, big opinions, big thoughts, some big theories. Corkenstein, how you feeling, brother? Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to be here. In this whole week, especially with Xbox, there's a lot of rumors and leaks going around. It would be good to dive into some of those stuff. Thanks for hitting me up yesterday too and invite me on. I always love coming on the other shows that you do because they're always A+. And like I said, I absolutely love your community. They show up every Friday, and we just all around have some awesome discussion.
Well, I mean, again, we're here to celebrate gaming, right, ladies and gentlemen? Like, that's what we come here for. We come here to talk about gaming. We're here to get excited about gaming. We're here to thank content creators for consistent things for us to watch, right? And again, I don't just watch gaming podcasts. Like this morning, I was listening to Josh at the Den of Nerds, one of my favorite places for trade, MCU news. Of course, I listen to Charlie from Emergency Awesome. He doesn't do any live streaming. He usually does videos, which are amazing. But we don't come here to argue. We don't come here to point fingers. We come here to celebrate gaming. And guess what, folks? That's exactly what Corkenstein and I are going to do today, because we have 2 massive topics. And the first one, once again, comes to us from Ecstasies. Now, Ecstasies, you've heard me talk about him a dozen times. I've had him on the show a few times. Definitely got to get him back onto the podcast. Folks, he has been exploding on the scene with information and news regarding Xbox. And Corkenstein, I sent this over to you, and this one is perplexing. Now, there's an easy answer for what he has stated, and Corkenstein and I are on the same page. And we actually, and I say we, the community, some of the community has pushed back against what we're about to talk about regarding a particular shadow drop for a particular game. But I don't necessarily know if that's what he's talking about. We're going to speculate. So, Corkenstein, as I sent to you in chat, you can't see it in front of me. I'm reading verbatim from the tweet from Ecstasies. He goes on to say this, ladies and gentlemen: surprise. A surprise shadow drop, probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest in Xbox Game Pass history, is about to happen. And according to a very strong source of Ecstasies, not only is it going to happen in a snap of a fingers, Corkenstein, it could logistically happen at the drop of a hat, or according to the tweet, in quotes, at any moment. Now, you and I, literally, while we were waiting in the green room and we're just talking, we easily said, well, boom, it's gotta be Bethesda's Oblivion remake, right? Like that's what we've been hearing for months, right? That is happening. It's been confirmed by numerous well positioned insiders. We just don't have the confirmation from Xbox themselves. So you might be saying, well, it's not really a confirmation, Boom, because Xbox didn't say so. And you know something, ladies and gentlemen, you would be right to say that. But I have it on unbelievable, rock solid foundation that not only does it exist, not only is it being dropped this year and into Xbox Game Pass day and date, but it is in fact real. Now, again, it still take it with a grain of salt conversation, but Korkenstein, before we move on to Oblivion remake, redone in Unreal Engine 5 from the ground up, I'm trying to add some additional context to this because there was another tweet from Ecstasies regarding the entire slate of Call of Duty being dropped into Xbox Game Pass. But it again, there is definitely some caveat here because what he said in the tweet, and I'll find it in a second once I hand the microphone over to you, is that Activision is actively, no pun intended, looking to remake several of the OG Call of Duties. Now, what does that mean? Is that Call of Duty Modern Warfare or Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare? That's already been remade or prettied up, so to speak. I'm wondering if what he's referring to is potentially remaking World at War, which was very popular with the community, even going all the way back. And I'm going to be honest with you folks, as much as I personally love the modern warfare games, right? You're there, you got the updated weapons. You know how I feel about Black Ops 6. We are potentially getting a sequel to Black Ops 2 this holiday. Very exciting, right? One of the best in the series. Me, personally, Korkenstein, I would love for them to go back to World War II and give us a remake of what launched on the Xbox 360 a gazillion years ago. But of course, this is all speculation. This is all, take it with a grain of salt conversation. What do you think, Korkenstein, that Ecstasies is actually referring to?
Yeah, you already mentioned it. We talked about it in the green room. It could be, like I said, the Oblivion remake. That I think TES is happening. The Elder Scrolls Online, I think, event is happening today, I believe. I know Triple I Initiative is having a special event actually right now or soon. So yeah, I mean, we have numerous kind of events happening today where anything can kind of drop. I think I saw someone mention Final Fantasy VII remake. I mean, you never know. I mean, they're supposed to have a partner preview program in March. That didn't happen. I thought it was. Usually, I think it's in March or April. So I mean, there's still a month of April here. We're barely in the month, so they could do maybe a partner preview program. I mean, but if they're already marketing the showcase, who knows? With that said, though, yeah, I think I mean, they're going to have to do something soon because you got to think Claire, Obscure Expedition 33 comes out on the 24th. They don't, they've done a lot of marketing for that. They've spent, Kepler and I can't believe I'm breaking or forgetting the development team's name. I'll think of it soon.
What are you talking about for Expedition 33?
Yeah, the developer. I think Kepler's publishing it. I can't remember the developer. It's I think Sand something. They spent a lot of money, doing this marketing. Xbox isn't just saying, hey, we're going to give this to you all for free. No, they pay for that stuff.
Right.
You got to think if you were a developer and you paid all this money to Xbox to get your game out there, to put it on Game Pass. I mean, I'm pretty sure they're getting some kickbacks from that. But still, the marketing isn't cheap. if they paid you all that money and then all of a sudden Xbox a week before your drop happened was like, bam, Call of Duty, the whole entire catalog. Sandfall Interactive. Thank you, Theneros. Yeah.
It might, yeah. The one thing that we have to, I want to add some context. What you're saying is that they're very forward thinking about partnerships
mhm.
and how they handle their own releases versus getting in the way of a quote unquote partnered release. So you're onto something there, brother.
Yeah, I'd be pissed as a developer. Here I spent all this money, I'm hyping up this game, and all of a sudden Xbox is like, "Yeah, we're gonna overshadow you with a Call of Duty drop." Um, that's kind of a dick move, to be honest. So I can't see them doing that, which is kind of funny because you got all these people that were pissed at Xbox. Where's this Call of Duty? Where's Call of Duty? But like a year ago, they were talking about cannibalization and how that's bad and how they don't want it to happen. That's cannibalization right there. If
Indeed.
you can't have it both ways, people. Keep that same energy. So it could be Oblivion, but they have to do it soon. Like I said, I think it would be a very, very bad look on Xbox if they did something like that after all the hype they did for Claire. And this, I'm not saying it is coming, but if I had to assume, especially with all these leaks and everything that we had last year for it, that was on the docket. The only thing I can think of is the Oblivion remake. That I'm gonna kind of double down on that. I doubt it's Titanfall 3. I mean, that's gonna be, that's supposedly or debunked or by Grub, but others people are doubling down on it. So who knows
Yeah.
what that is, but they're gonna do a proper marketing lead up. But I've seen somebody like it's Titanfall 3. No, they wouldn't shadow drop that. So yeah, final answer. I'm gonna say Oblivion remake. I don't think that's a showcase worthy. Let me rephrase that because I already know people are gonna jump on that. I think that's a game that could be showcase worthy, but I think it would shine better if it had its own kind of thing, maybe at the TES kind of showcase. That's a better way to phrase it. I think it's a big drop, but with Xbox, look how hard Xbox went last year. I could see the Oblivion remake kind of getting a little overshadowed by that. Release it right now. Like I said, Claire comes out, and then you guys kind of got nothing after that. From what I can see for the foreseeable future, I may be a little outdated on that. I've been so busy trying to figure out all these releases, and there's just way too many games to play. But yeah, space it out. Be a good time to drop it, maybe announce it, and then who knows, maybe it's not even a shadow drop. They could just say, hey, we're announcing it now in May. We'll drop something cool. It'll be interesting to see. Today is going to be a very interesting day.
I did not know that the ESO event was happening today.
Let me
So
verify real quick. I thought it was happening today. I know I saw something on Twitter about it, about TES having some kind of event. But I
well, you know
can't.
what? While you go and you take a look for that, because again, that's if that in fact is happening, then I know exactly what Ecstasy is talking about, and that would be the Oblivion drop, and that would be the one of the biggest shadow drops to ever come across Xbox Game Pass. Now, some people will argue and say, "Whoa, hold on a second, there, fella. I was blown away by Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and something, you wouldn't be wrong for that because that was a monster size shadow drop." And that game was redone in Unreal Engine 5, just like the Bethesda joint. But Oblivion is one of those games. And listen, you've heard me talk about this before. Oblivion is my favorite RPG of all time. And I would say that, boom, what's your second? Final Fantasy VII, the OG, is just one of my favorite RPGs of all time, especially, if you think about what they were able to do on the PlayStation 1 with these magics. And I always referred back to, does anyone in the classroom, raise your hand, remembers when you first saw Hades, where he just drops the big cauldron, he's turning it? Or what about Knights of the Round? Like, Knights of the Round is so ridiculous and it's not called magic. I know that it's called something else, and I don't remember what they called it, but yeah, again, so for me, It's going to be Oblivion, my favorite. I got vamped out and I could not unvamp myself, so I had to always go to nights so I didn't burn, and it was it was a bit of a hindrance, but I had a lot of fun because I had all these vampiric powers. Loved Oblivion. And again, yes, I said it before, and I will then throw myself onto the stand here, Your Honor. I am probably one of the main reasons why microtransactions exist, because I stood in line to get horse armor like everybody else for my $4.99.
I will say yes. So I looked it up, and thank you to everyone in chat, Zach, Ray, Will, Broke Boy. Yes, it is happening today, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m.
Okay.
British Standard Time.
Excellent. Well, folks, let's just rewind this for a second and say that even though and again I do have the other tweet from Ecstasies, according to, again, folks, take everything that we're talking about with a grain of salt. This is a post by someone that I personally trust. I personally know him. We haven't had a beer together yet. Again, I wouldn't have a beer. I'd have a ginger ale, but we haven't had a meal together because obviously he's in Spain and I'm here in New Rochelle, New York. Now, at some point, would it be dope to meet Ecstasies in real life? Hell yeah, man! And then we can have a conversation. But I trust his sources and I trust Ecstasies. And usually, there are other people in the scooping community, like Detective Seeds. Folks, I know you're going to get mad at me for mentioning his names. He's not the candy man. He is a PlayStation guy. He's a good content creator. They line up. And again, I can't name my two particular sources because then I would be dead. But obviously, every time I hear from one of my sources or one of the two that I trust, and I actually know them personally, like we have cell phone numbers and we talk like humans, they line up or they go parallel with both Seeds and Ecstasies. So take it with a grain of salt if you want, but this is what Ecstasies had to say, folks. He says Xbox and Activision are preparing something huge for classic Call of Duty on Xbox Game Pass. And according to Ecstasies, he says the plan, in capitals, is very different from just backwards compatibility. And the idea that's being tossed around is to remake most of the original Call of Duties from the ground up. And he has, of course, Call of Duty 1, Call of Duty 2, Call of Duty, and it just goes on and on. Folks, let me just say this. I know that there are a lot of people, Corkenstein, and I get your thoughts on the whole remake stuff, and then we'll bring it back around to, of course, Oblivion potentially happening today, because now it's definitely happening, in my opinion. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to be disappointed as H. But let's just get, again, this is a bit of a talky kind of a conversation. So, folks, just enjoy the ride, so to speak. What are your thoughts, Corkenstein, on that? Rather than just standardize, backwards compatibility, here you go play. What about having Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3, the OGs, World War II, where it all began, redone for console? Maybe they redo it in the new Call of Duty engine. I say, yeah. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, it would shut those people up that were like, "Where's the Activision games? Where's the Activision games?" And Xbox is like, "Oh, well, here they are, remastered for you, so you're welcome." Like it would be such just like just a boss move, just mic drop right there. I mean, things take time. I know you get a lot of people, they don't realize development. It's not really something you think of. Me as a former developer, yes, it's a different world. Time frames are way different. The processes, these things take time, and people, this is also why Xbox switched over from the SDK to the GDK to unify their whole development suite, so they don't have to worry about things like I said, the Marvel versus Capcom thing that happened. They don't got to worry about that, because it's all streamlined now on the same kind of engine, or not engine, but the development suite, the development kit. But even ports take time because coding's different. how the architect of the system works, things like that. So it's not just a simple thing, but if they are remakes, that would be awesome. Like I said, that would be a pretty good. That's a pretty like, hey, why give you old stuff when we can give you something a little new that's more modern? That's something that plays a lot better than y'all going back and trying to use some old control schemes and graphics, and let's do something cool and give you something new and worthwhile to actually look forward to for these back catalog games. Jez, also, I think I sent it to you when he was talking about the Outer Worlds 2 being on BattleNet. He even said, games also show up, or he was linking to the Windows Central article about the new Outer Worlds 2 gameplay.
Right.
Games also showed up on BattleNet 2. Microsoft putting a lot of games there lately. Heard some older games might show up as well soon. Is he talking about the same thing? Maybe not. It could just be coincidence. But if we're hearing stuff like that, and then somebody else, it's if it looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it might be a duck.
It probably is a duck. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's probably a duck. So I mean, but I don't want to speak for Jez. Jez is a great guy and stuff like that. So I don't want people to be like, well, Jez said no. He hinted at something, but he could be talking about something 100% completely different. So that could be something as well. Maybe both got the same source. Maybe both kind of running with the same thing. I think it'd be cool, like I said. But then again, I hope they do it in a month that isn't, because look at South of Midnight just came out literally 2 days ago, and
2 days ago,
if they're doing a Call of Duty drop or even an Oblivion drop, that's just going to cannibalize any momentum that South of Midnight has had right now. I think I even saw a few people in the chat say, "Oh, if they dropped Oblivion or if they dropped this game, I'd stop what I'm playing right now and play that." That's what they don't want. So that's why I'm kind of iffy on this. I'm a little 50-50 on if it's going to be a shadow drop today. I always love more games. Don't take me wrong. I'm not going to be.
We're greedy gamers, brother. Let's face reality. You are a greedy gamer. I'm a greedy gamer. The 300 people that are watching live, you're all greedy gamers. And you know what? That's okay, Korkenstein.
It is very, but I would love to have more games. My backlog is definitely hurting still. My co-host has, my other podcast.
My backlog's embarrassing, games. Bro.
Yeah, he has like 20, 30 games that he just like bought and hasn't even started yet. But yeah, I always love more games. I just want to make sure that every developer is getting their fair share of the limelight, and especially for a game like South of Midnight, which you're playing right now, is just absolutely just gorgeous. The storyline, the narrative, I could talk for hours about this game because of what an amazing art form it does, and what it, how it puts itself out there, and discusses some very heavy narrative topics a lot of people shy away from. So narratively speaking, this is such a beautifully artistic game that I think deserves its fair share of time out there for people to get their hands on, and it'd be a shame if Xbox kind of cannibalized that.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, the problem with Xbox that they never had before, up until purchasing all these publishers and studios and and things of that nature, is the amount of games that were made available at any one time. Like, there used to be a point where there was some truth to, Xbox got no games. And even when they supposedly didn't have no games, they had a lot of really good ones. If you and you know what I revert back to, and I know we're all over the place with this particular topic, but that's what having this kind of conversation is, right? It's just open-ended. We're having fun. We're talking about stuff. The Xbox One launch games were freaking phenomenally good. So underrated. Every single one of them were different. And that's one of my favorite launch game bunches at any one particular time. The only one I thought might have been better, and I'm always going to go this way, is Dreamcast. The Dreamcast launch was ridiculous. $99.99, folks. I'll never forget it. I drove through a freaking monsoon, and I got every game. I bought every game that launched that day. I'm not kidding you. Every game. But yeah, I mean, listen, again, let's just bring this back around. So, of course, I want to shout out Paradigm Shift in there. Paradigm, welcome to the program, brother. It's nice to see you here. New name, I've never seen you. If I missed you, I apologize. He says, "Give me a hell yeah if you need to if you need to remake these games from the grown up in modern times with new technology. It would be amazing." Of course, he's talking about Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3. And yeah, man, I would take a remake of all three of those games because I mean, again, I know that for a lot of people, nobody wants to go back in time, like World War II. Why? But, we did it with Battlefield and it sucked. There's a reason why it stunk. This is Call of Duty. Those three particular Call of Duties. Now, granted, Call of Duty 1, PC only. I've never played that. So I would get a chance as a gamer to play it on console. That would be dope. So for me, new game. Call of Duty 2 launch game on the Xbox 360. I played through that game multiple times. That game is unbelievable. And Call of Duty 3, now, not the strongest of the trilogy, but still a good Call of Duty nonetheless. So I could definitely get down with remakes for them. But
And they're also games that aren't in like a story kind of container, like how we have with the Black Ops 6 narrative, or Black Ops, where it's a continuing story. These are kind of just, if I remember correctly,
their own things.
yeah, their own kind of, narrative set differently. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I wasn't a big Call of Duty person early on because, I was, working on Modern Warfare or not Modern Warfare, Medal of Honor. So I was a Medal of Honor guy, but purely because, that was my jam. I was in the studio working on that. But they're fun games. Call of Duty, they're that old classic action, which I think a lot of people want to go back to.
I look, when you talk about remakes, some people get a bit triggered because they're like, I can't do another remake. Stop. My brother Neil Mental, who I love, that's my life right there. He hates these remakes. Like he's like, look, I played through it. I don't need a remake again. I'm moving on, like an old man. Like Sunshine, how dare you put sun on my head? You know what I'm saying? I am the opposite. I like remakes because there are some games that deserve them. And I think Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3 absolutely deserve it. There's no doubt about it. But now bringing this all the way back to the fact that today is an ESO event, and shame on me for not knowing that. Of course, I got to bend the knee to missing out on that key piece of information because that's important. Because again, that really does sound like what Ecstasies is referring to. And again, Detective Seeds has talked about it. We've heard Hazardor Gaming, who's not an insider, but he has, of course, posted about this happening. I trust Hazardor Gaming, Okami_13, who again, we're working out our schedules. He's going to be joining me in a couple of the upcoming live shows because we're going to try and promote his YouTube channel. He's not at 1,000 subscribers yet, and we want to help him get there. He does great work, and obviously he's goated on Twitter. And again, great member of the community. But Oblivion, folks. Yeah, I think that's happening today. Now, if it does happen today, understand that whatever I wrote for, and I've already started writing tomorrow's show, and one of the big topics, Corkstein and I were talking about it in the green room, is going to be about the Xbox showcase and what we can expect, because there was a leak of what is going to be there. There were 5 games. I'm not going to spoil it, folks. I'm going to save that for tomorrow. Of what is confirmed to be there through a particular source. I'll name this. I'm not going to name the source. I'm going to name the poster, and we'll go over it. But yeah, I'm again. You heard me. First of all, if you missed last night's live stream, you missed a great show, because not only was it the standard, trio of brothers, myself, Kay Asante, and Hargi Chani. King David was dropping bars almost every time he picked up the mic. Like, it was unbelievable. He was on a rant. He did his Nintendo thing. And of course, we talked about FanFest, not happening, which I'm still incredibly disappointed about. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. If it's going to be, I'll put it this way. And this is some inside baseball stuff. So Mrs. Boom and I, we are a small channel, just us that run the channel. She doesn't do anything like production. She does all of the behind the scenes, the money stuff. She does she sets up all the giveaways, all the like the minutia stuff. And she was literally saying, she goes, I feel bad that there's no fan fest. And of course, we were talking about potentially it showing up at PAX West, which is PAX Prime, I believe it's called. It's the one in Seattle. It's the mecca of the PAX events. It's where it originally started. That is where I'm hearing they're going to be celebrating the 10th anniversary of FanFest. That is what I've heard. I don't know if it's true. If it is true, I will be flying out to Seattle. I again, this is on my dime, of course, but I want to be a part of that. So I will fly out to Seattle and cover that because PAX is a great. I'm not going to PAX East this year, but I would go to the one in Seattle if the FanFest event is going to be there. But we will definitely see.
Yeah, same. That's kind of what I've heard too. I think we were talking to the same people.
Yes, I believe we were.
Yesterday. Yeah,
Yep.
and that's what we kind of came together as. It makes 100% make sense. It's their own backyard for 10th
Indeed,
anniversary.
and they don't
in their
have
own
to
backyard.
pay. They don't have to pay big bucks to move people and have people show up, right? Like a lot of their studios are in Seattle, Washington. Yes,
Yep.
of course, some of them are in Los Angeles, but from Los Angeles to Seattle, not bad, right? Not that big of of cost. Again, that King David said he had heard Germany, and even though I'm not trying to be, trying to be like a gatekeeper, that boxes me out because I'm not going to Germany. I don't want to travel internationally for a lot of reasons right now, and it's because right now what's going on with the world, it's not as safe as it used to be. And I'm here to talk about video games, not get into a fist fight with someone because I'm from America. Honestly, I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's the world we're living in, folks. That's just what it is. But Korkenstein, let's get to topic 2. Now, this one I'm excited for because, and again, we got to give credit where credit is due, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, before we get to that, I have 3 super chats, and I believe it's all from Do You K Now, the broke boy insider. He drops not 1, folks, not 2, but 3 super chats. So, of course, Will, thank you so much for the generosity, brother. You continue to always support the channel. Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful for it. His first $5 super chat goes on to say, finished South of Midnight a few days ago. Loved the story. The music, soundtrack is playing now, visuals, audio, combat fine, along with the platforming. And you know something? He's not wrong. And I've said this in my review. I've said this. We've talked about it. Everyone that has something negative to say about this game is, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have a problem if you believe as a person that plays games, whether you are a professional reviewer, whether you review for your own personal sites, or that you just are someone in the community that enjoys the banter and you like talking about it. You don't have to like the platforming. You don't have to give the combat a pass. I am not suggesting that. I'm suggesting that have your own opinion, stick to your guns, be earnest, be honest, and say what you got to say. Right? That's my thought, my theory for it. But I think, and I know that King David, and I know that quite a few other people have said that and more specifically, Infinite Umbra is a bit bothered by the fact that people continuing to downplay the importance of this game and harp solely on its combat. The combat is not broken. It's not passable. It's good. And it gets better depending on how much time you put into unlocking by finding those. You see, I'm going here, there, and everywhere to trying the floofs. I'm trying to find everything, and I'm missing just about under 100 of them for the 100-point achievement. So rest assured, I'm gonna get it. But it's not passable. It just could have been better. And that does not make this game a monster or horrible for it. The platforming is okay. It's good. It's standard fair platforming. I have an issue with some of it because you'll see that a couple times I slipped off and fell. That shouldn't happen, but it did. And maybe they patched it and I don't know about it, but that was my only other complaint. So great posting all along. Will's second super chat of $2 says the ESO Direct is today at 3 p.m. Eastern. Brother, thank you again for that. Super appreciate it. Now I know for sure that because the ESO event is happening, you might as well. I'm not an insider, folks, but I am not going to say I'm going to eat my hat or anything stupid like that. If I was a gambling kind of guy, and I'm not. I don't like gambling because I lack my money. I would say that there's a really solid 1-to-1 chance that what Xerxes was talking about is actually happening. We will see right after the event. His last super chat of $5 goes on to say, not going to spoil anything, but for those who played Hellblade 2 and South of Midnight, Chapter 11 reminds you of the giant. I don't know what that word is. ILLTAUGA story. I don't.
It's the monster, the big monster in Hellblade 2.
Oh, you,
Iltuaga,
yeah, El
Iltuaga.
Tuaga. Yeah,
I
that's
think.
okay. Thank you, brother. Super appreciate that. Yeah, now is that the one that is the one that's crying on the beach?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, yeah, I thought so. You know, that's interesting. Now I have to go to that particular part and look at it. That's very interesting stuff there. As always, of course, Will is an insider, as he says. Um, but listen,
He steals my takes. It's all right.
and there you go. You know what? Blame him for a change because he's always blaming you. He's blaming me. He blames Fuzzy. We do steal his takes, but it's not because we read them. It's just so it's coincidental.
Hey, geniuses
Um,
think alike.
they look at that. That's a good way of putting it. Good geniuses think alike. I love it. So here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I want to get into topic 2 because this is the big one. Now, yesterday we got an 11-minute and 2-second gameplay reveal of the Outer Worlds 2. It's not the first time we've seen the game, but it's the first time that we've seen lengthy gameplay, and that comes the way of an IGN first. And I got to tell you, folks, I've watched it twice, and it was very well done. Let's just go right into it, Korkenstein. Why this is an amazing thing is, when you talk about RPG makers, most people, think Bethesda, they'll think Square. There are quite a few other ones in there that are just really good at it, but there's no one better in the business than Obsidian. Obsidian has RPG magic on almost anything that they touch, right? Now, some people will argue that and say, "Well, no, Boom, that's not my favorite RPG maker," and I'm not going to argue with you. If that's not yours, that's fine. But they are certainly tip of spear for Mr. Boomstick, and one of my favorite games, top one of my favorite games, and I say this was Fallout New Vegas. That Fallout New Vegas crown has now been shifted over to Avowed. Now, I'm still waiting for this big update, and I hope that the update happens soon because I do want a new game plus. I do not want to lose everything that I have already gained. I want to continue to build and get all the achievements regarding leveling up your sub characters, your companions, as well as some of the achievements that I missed, to level up certain powers that as much time as I spent in there, I just didn't get to that. So that's why I want the new game plus. Keep my level and just keep playing the game, start over, and I'm going to play from an entirely different perspective. I'm going fighter and I'm going third person. Before it was magic user and first person. And that's going to change the game entirely, make it entirely different for me. I'm very excited for that. But Korkenstein, I'm going to hand the mic over to you because you had a really good thought on this. And I think what has to be brought out into the open of the conversation is the fact that Obsidian is going to potentially be bookending 2025 with Avowed to open and the Outer Worlds to close. And if you took anything away from yesterday's IGN first and the 11 minutes and 2 seconds we got a chance to see this game being played, there is something that jumps off the page, Korkenstein, and that is how gorgeous this game looks. The graphics, and I'm saying this as someone who is ridiculously impressed with what happened with Avowed. I actually think it looked better. And that's saying something because Avowed is a stunning looking game. Let's get your thoughts on the 11 minutes from the IGN first.
Yeah, it looked great. Looked absolutely great. And yeah, we were talking about it. Like the output that Obsidian is doing, that's absolutely insane. A massive game like Avowed. Granted, Avowed had about a year, of delays. So, but even still, a year, and you got two massive RPGs like this releasing in a span of a year, even if it did come out on, when it was originally supposed to come out, is insane, especially with what Obsidian does with RPGs and the level of detail and the level of story, the character development, the narratives, gameplay. That is just absolutely insane to think about, that these two massive RPGs are going to be here all from the same developer. So big kudos, shout out to them. It'll also be interesting to see how they approach Outer Worlds 2, because fundamentally they're two different games in that sense on how certain mechanics work. I played the Outer Worlds 1 a few years ago. And it's definitely different compared to Avowed, which is a little bit more streamlined and casual friendly. So I wonder how they're going to approach that for, players coming into this, especially with it being a Game Pass title, even though the other one eventually came to Game Pass. We'll see. We'll see. It's going to be interesting because it's going to be two vastly different kind of play styles, I think. And yeah, the color palette has always been amazing
Yes.
For Outer Worlds. You get kind of those little, neons, and it just has that space feel, especially like sometimes when you look into the sky on Outer Worlds 1, especially after if you've ever played the Spacer's Choice edition, which massively upholds the graphics and everything. It just is an all-around great game, even though it's a little bit more on that cell shaded side, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It still is a gorgeous looking game, just to move around in that world. Very immersive, kind of an immersive sim kind of style. A gameplay right there, and the music and the action. What we saw, everything looked really, really great to play. It looked very smooth. Yeah, they were doing a little bit more stealthy kind of gameplay here and there.
Yeah.
I did see, a big Team Blue grifter, calling out the screen tearing, and it's like, I don't think you realize how VSync works and how early development builds work, bud. But that's neither here or there. It's I'm excited for it. I never got to finish Outer Worlds because when I jumped back in, um, I bought the expansions, but because I had the base game on Game Pass, if I tried to upgrade to the Spacer's Choice, it didn't work.
Oh.
Um, yeah, you actually have to buy the base game. You can't Game Pass buy the two expansions and then upgrade. It won't let you do that. So I rage quit. I was like, nope, I'm done with that. And I just never finished it.
There's
But
nothing
if
wrong with that. That's kind of cheapo, to be honest with you. But
yeah, if I could get Spacer's Choice back, if I could get it on sale or something, just because there's so much. I still haven't even finished Assassin's Creed Shadows. If I could get back on, if I could get it on deals, I think it was actually on Epic Game Store for a while. I think I saw Jesse from Xbox Era playing it yesterday, and he said he got it from Epic when it was like a free game
oh
giveaway.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, so he scored there. But yeah, if I could get it for maybe like $20, I'll probably buy it and kind of play through it before 2 comes out, just to kind of reinvest myself and get back into the narrative and characters and things like that. So, but it looked absolutely amazing. Like I said, it's just Obsidian is such a just great developer.
The skills that are on display with Avowed are going to be on display once again when the Outer Worlds 2 releases this year. And what's interesting is that we're getting an Outer Worlds 2 direct right after the Xbox games showcase this June. And I think that is, and that's the thing that's goes to show you, like, we've seen quite a few of the directs, and when they do these directs, they are big games. I think that what that says to me is that they look at the Outer Worlds as a massive franchise, not just the little kid brother that Obsidian is bringing along to the dance. No, it's a massive RPG that did really well on multiple platforms when it was, the original was released. I played through the first DLC, started playing through the second, never finished it. But I am going to say this: if there is, outside of the graphics that were on display, outside of the gameplay, which looks to be better than the original, right? They have some stealth that's involved in there, which I love. I love the fact that you can go into anything with either guns ablazing or stealth. I think that if you don't want a firefight and you're simply just looking to do the stealth mechanic, that should be there. Well, like Korkenstein said, it's there. So there's options. But the thing that I have to say, outside of the graphics, that is most impressive about and most memorable Korkenstein, and I'm going to get your thoughts on this, for the original and what should be even better in its sequel, was the companions and how you interacted with them and the side stories that you could go. You got to remember, I don't recall if there was any like like love interest choices that you could make with the characters like you could with some of the old Obsidian games, or even like, for instance, anything that you saw at Bethesda. I don't know if there were romance options. I actually don't remember. I know that I beat the game, loved every second of it, and for me, the most memorable part was the companions and what you can do with those said companions. I expect it to be even better simply based on the choices that we saw happen, more specifically in Avowed. And Avowed had great, and there was no romancing, which is fine. I don't need that in the game, and some people want it. That's awesome if you do. But I think that they could expand on the great way of doing it for the Outer Worlds one. Do you expect the same, Korkenstein?
Yeah, companions were a great part of it. They were very deeply, heavily into the narrative on, how you progressed as a character as well, and your actions influenced how they responded to you. Things that you did. You could even go and do special side quests to help them. They had their own ability trees. I definitely think it will be expanded. Companions played a big part in, character development and setting the narrative for the player. It'd be a shame if they went away from that. Yeah, I remember they had I remember they had Pravarti, I think was her name.
Yeah, she was awesome. She's my favorite
She's the
of
first one you
companions.
get. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the seafood town. And then they had the Vicar Max, which is also the same town. I remember the robot Sam, I think his name
Yes.
was. Yeah. Yeah, they had some great characters. Like, these are memorable characters. I mean, what, the game came out in 2019, 6 years ago, and I'm, still remembering some of these characters' names. Just shows you how deep that companion development was and how they really impacted the player. So I'm looking forward to it. I think companions would be a massive misstep if they did kind of move away from that. I hope they double down on it. We'll find out though at the direct. I think of there's a lot of things I think Outer Worlds could have gone with. But given the time, RPGs were not given the time. I mean, that makes it sound so old. But I guess given where RPGs were at that time, I guess there's still always room for improvement, especially for a new IP. Coming into the world. There's so much more I think that they could have done with Outer Worlds that we'll definitely see in Outer Worlds 2. Doesn't have to be anything crazy. They don't have to put in a building mechanic or anything like that. Just little quality of life improvements on how things progress, the um, experience and abilities and gunplay. I thought the gunplay was fine. I don't know if you've played it recently, but I think it could be just a little, everything with how quick twitch everything is, like action shooters now. For first person shooters, I think they could maybe just improve it just a little bit. We'll see how they come in. I think if they've learned anything from Avowed, which has some of the greatest combat as a first person game, because of how fluid it is, I think if they nailed the Avowed combat in Outer Worlds 2, you're looking at a game of the year winner for sure.
Well, I mean, look, So, just to add additional context, because we're going to get out of here at 12, or maybe just a few minutes after, because Korkenstein's got a prior engagement that he has to handle. So, normally this show only runs about 60 or 70 minutes anyway. I did, of course, pull the IGN article, and I want to read. I want to read verbatim from it because there's some interesting points of contention here. And of course, the article is available to read at IGN.com. It was written by Michael Hyam, and it was posted yesterday. And according to the article, all footage that you saw yesterday is from a work in progress alpha build. So screen tearing happens.
Yeah.
Okay. So Team Blue Person, stop being overcritical and ask for better of Sony before you start doing what you do towards Xbox. I'll say that. But um, this is what the article had to say, Korkenstein. And of course, it goes on to say, talk highly about the Outer Worlds 1, but it says this the DNA that has always been a part of the first person RPGs. Well, the Outer Worlds 2 has more sophisticated systems compared to the original game, like a true stealth system and better tools to make the playstyle viable, including effective melee weapons and skills to make silent takedowns possible. Take, for example, the health bar above an enemy's head. There's a purple colored readout that displays how much damage a stealth attack will do, helping you judge whether or not you can one kill the enemy character. And it's also worth noting that you can pounce onto your target. Enemies will also detect dead bodies and alert guards, which you can quickly clean up if you have the skill to disintegrate the bodies on the spot. Oh, freaking yes. And you know what? That reminds me, if you remember, the last one of the last Assassin's Creed, there was one of those things where you literally burnt the body, so there was no having to hide anyone. I
Yep.
love that. So it goes on to say here there are several interlocking systems that factor into how you're able to play, leaning more into the RPG elements that make up specific character builds. And I think that is awesome. And like I said, one of the things that we're getting, at least from this article and from what we watched, is that there's going to be multiple play styles. And I think that when you're not pigeonholed, Cork, into playing a specific way, because that, and I think that maybe we're going to see some of the growth from Avowed moved into, of course, the Outer Worlds too. And why I say that is because if you remember when Avowed was the rage, now people are still playing it, people are still enjoying it. People like Jamie Moran just got to the third area and he's loving it, right? But not many people are posting. And one of the things I found absolutely fascinating about the way that people were posting Avowed is every time I saw someone use a character or their character different, whether it be third person or first person, whether it be magic versus, an archer versus a fighter, I'm like, my God, did I play this game wrong? And that's what it looks like we could be getting here. Like you're going to see people's gameplay, whether it be via streaming on Twitch, whether it be watching gameplay on someone's live podcast, like here at Double Barrel Gaming, or just playing not playing by yourself. Pause. Hold on a sec there. I almost went down a dark road. But while you're playing the game, you're going to be able to play it the way you want. I think Korkenstein, that is the most exciting thing because no two gamers are going to play this game. At least it appears that way, that no two gamers are going to play the same. Any additional thoughts and context before we get on out of here?
Yeah, that's no, I think you hit it right on the head. And I'm so glad to hear that in the article because that's literally what I just said before. Like it wasn't that it was like that's I said, like, at the time it makes it sound old, but some of the systems were outdated compared to what other RPGs were doing, and I'm so glad that that's addressed. And those were the quality of life features I was kind of talking about a little bit, that that Outer Worlds could incorporate. And then, yeah, I think if they learned anything from Avowed, it's being able to let players. I do think Avowed stifles that a bit with how much they penalize you for respecking, especially with how much you can, switch between classes and weapons. It kind of pigeonholes you into one. And I hope that learning from Avowed that doesn't happen with Outer Worlds 2. Let people respec as much as they want. Let them have fun with the builds.
Yes.
Let them play how they, and that's the whole point of an RPG, is letting people play how they want to play. And I'm so glad to hear that, and I really hope that that's something a big focus is for Obsidian and their push. Like I said, we'll find out more in June at the Showcase Direct. I do want to say Blueprints is now available on Game Pass. I just saw it. I just got a notification on the Xbox app. It is available for Game Pass right now.
Nice. And supposedly, according to Paris Lilly, of course, everyone knows Paris, and he's probably lurking as we speak. Paris, shout out to you, brother. He played it. He said it could be his game of the year. I don't know. I think it's described as a puzzler. I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah, John from Xbox Era 2 really highly praised it. I think Jen from Windows Central as well said she was really looking forward to it. Yeah, it looks to be like a little first person kind of puzzler kind of game and stuff. So they showed it at the showcase, I believe, or they showed it somewhere. I can't remember the exact time they showed it, but it looked interesting.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. I listen again. It's a Game Pass, right, folks? How could you go wrong? You download it, you play it. If you don't like it, guess what? You delete it and you keep it moving. But look, let me just make sure I'm caught up on super chats. Make sure we are. We have a couple more here, and then we will get everyone out here again, folks. This is one of the shorter shows of the day and shorter shows of the week. Tomorrow, do not forget 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, start your Friday on the right foot with Breakfast with Boom. Obviously, I've already written tomorrow's show. It is going to feature some Titanfall 3 conversation because there is a bit of back and forth between Jeff Grubb and some of the original reports that come the way of the Apex Legends leakers. Jeff says nay. They say, that there is in fact going to be a release of a Titanfall 3 that is going to be, and my God, I hope this is wrong, ladies and gentlemen, an extraction-like shooter. Oh my God, I don't want that in my life. That is not the Titanfall that I need in my life, folks. I need actual Titans dropping, and I hope that if there is an extraction-esque mode, that is fine. Supposedly, it's going to have a single-player campaign. Yes, please, because this Titanfall 2's was amazing. And you know what? Just give me multiplayer, play, PvP, give me mechs, give me, 8-on-8, whatever. And then of course we can talk, but don't give me an extraction shooter. That's not what I need in my. I'm going to be so effing mad that I had to wait all these freaking years to get an extraction shooter. We'll get into that tomorrow, and of course, we'll all be sitting and waiting for 3 o'clock to happen on whether or not Oblivion Watch 2025 actually happens. To the gaming gods, if you're listening, please drop that on our laps because, like everyone has already said in the chat, folks, I'm here to tell you, I'm playing quite a few games. Things I can talk about, things I cannot talk about. And I can tell you that I will immediately stop playing everything for a Unreal Engine 5 Oblivion. Yes, please, and yes, please again. We have Lord or Sith Lord or Vintage Sith Lord drops a very generous $2 super chat. And he goes on to say, South of Midnight, one of the best games I have played. Yeah, it's a powerhouse of a release, man. I mean, some of those stories, they're deep, man, and they are serious. Like they don't. This is one of those. You ever heard me? Well, of course you've heard me say. You've been watching the show for years. I've always said that Sony does the third person, over the shoulder, story driven, adult themed. Those 2 points of contention very well. It's why I like their games. This game in front of you right now hits those 2 particular points in the best way possible. When I say it's adult themed and it's story driven, I say that, you know what? Play the game for yourself. Don't watch the reviews. Play the game for yourself. We also have Broke Boy Lewis drops an additional $2 super chat and says, "Great minds think alike, and again, so do ours." Indeed, kind sir. Thank you so much for the generosity and, of course, the kind words. We have Quan the Terrible. Quan has been a channel member for over a year. And Quan, thank you so much for the outstanding generosity, folks. He doesn't even say anything. That's how cool he is. And lastly, we have another $5 super chat of Do You, K Now, the Broke Boy Insider, says, "I tweeted compulsion Phil Spencer and Xbox that we need to have a crouton plushie from South of Midnight. And it says, I got a like from Compulsion Games." Brother, let me just say this. If there is one complaint that I have about the game, and this is not really a complaint, this is more of a personal thing. When I'm not going to spoil what crouton is, who crouton is, I will say this. Crouton needs more airtime. I liked what they did with him and how he was used. I didn't love it, and I wanted more. More specifically, I wanted a chapter, and maybe it was cut. I don't know. If I ever get a chance to sit down and kind of talk with Compulsion Games, this is going to be the question I asked. I wanted his story because he's a voodoo doll, but he comes to life. How? How did that happen? Where he's been a plushie or a toy for the main character. She's had him for years. How did he come to life? What happened? What's his story? And I know it sounds stupid, like boom, that sounds stupid. I don't want to know about Crouton. Okay, I'm not going to fight you on it. I want to know about Crouton because he's basically the R2D2 of South of Midnight. If I could give him a 1-to-1, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be like Luke's R2, Hazel's Crouton. I don't know if anyone agrees with me in the chat here. I know we got to get on out of here, but that's how important of a character, and he does some really important things. But I wanted more. That's my one ask. So yes, give me a plushie because I'm freaking buying that ASAP. But Korkenstein, let's sell the brand, brother. Tell everyone where they not only can follow you on social media and most of the other socials, but what else you got going on? Any additional information about what you're doing with your Xbox podcast? Is there going to be a new episode of Game Pass Gumbo? Could that be something that's added with an Oblivion drop? Maybe you make some some of the dishes from that game. Talk about it, brother. Sell the brand.
Yeah, thank you again, Boom, for asking me to jump on again. Like I said, I love being here. I'll see you guys every Friday on Breakfast with Boom. But yeah, like I said, I absolutely love your guys's love the community here. Yeah, it is. And like I said, there's been nothing but solid communication and chat going on with your guys here. And I just am so thankful to be a part of this community. I do want to say, yes, I am on, just look for me on, I'm all of them. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Threads. Just look up Korkenstein. I think I'm the only one there, or the Korkenstein. There was actually somebody making a bunch of fake profiles of me, and yeah, I got like 100 messages.
I hate when people do that. You got to be a real MF. I'm sorry.
It happens at least twice or 3 times a year. I don't know. I don't even think like myself that big. Like, who wants to make a profile of me? Like, I have horrible takes. Why would you do that? But yeah, it happens. Yeah, I had to do a whole bunch of Twitter stuff too, where I had to report a bunch of accounts and get them, which was funny enough. Actually, one of them was one I made because I locked myself out. So I got a message like, your account's been banned, and I was like freaking out. And I was like, oh yeah, this was actually one of my side accounts that I made like 5 years ago that I completely forgot about. So yeah, I banned myself. But yeah, I'm on all those platforms. Game Pass Gumbo, we have something pretty cool coming up for that. April 26th, we're going to be doing, it's going to be our 1 year show.
Nice.
I'm trying to get somebody on there really, really cool. We're going to talk about Blizzard because that's how we started Game Pass Gumbo. It just randomly, we did a Blizzard episode. So we figured, why not go back to the roots? And we'll start our year episode, the very first episode with Blizzard, and we'll end our 1 year with Blizzard, our 1 year anniversary with Blizzard.
That's
So
cool, man.
yeah, I'm gonna reach out to that person later today, and hopefully he can join us. It'd be really cool to have him on the show. He's expressed interest, and I don't want to say anything yet because he hasn't confirmed or denied yet. But yeah, and then Xbox talks. We are working with, like I said, the Claire Obscure Expedition 33 people. Like I said, that
Nice.
kind of takes a little while. We're just waiting for them. They're releasing a game, so they're trying to dot their I's, cross their T's, make sure their P's and Q's aren't mixed up. And yeah, so that's going to take a little while more, but be on the lookout. It's really, really cool. It's going to be an amazing giveaway. And I can't wait to share what that is with you guys. But that's what we have planned for Xbox Talks and Game Pass Gumbo.
Okay, so I mean that's again the 1 year anniversary. You got to send it to me so I can help promote it because that's a really
Yes.
big deal.
Yeah, April
And
26th.
well, there
That's
you go.
currently the date.
Okay, excellent. DJ Birdo DOS. Now, I didn't get it originally. For some reason, it did not show up on the software for StreamYards, but I am at YouTube, which, of course, I'm looking at it. He drops a very generous $5 super chat. And DJ Birdo DOS goes on to say, playing South of Midnight Boom, and for the love of Joe, I can't help but wonder how awesome it would have been to surf over the to surf over the swamp for traversal. Like some sort of like a hovercraft kind of a thing, maybe. I think the reason why they didn't do that is because it's not open world. I think it's open hub, I guess, maybe.
It's
Yeah,
instance
yeah.
worlds, and they want you to the platforming, I think, would have been lost in a sense if they
I
opened it
agree.
up.
Yeah, that's a great point. Actually, I was gonna make mention of that. I don't think you're wrong. I think you're onto something. Look, are we going to get a sequel? Well, I freaking sure hope so. Is it going to be bigger and better? Yeah, I also absolutely hope so. I think this is a franchise that told a very incredible, multi-faceted tale, and I'd love to learn more about or continue to see Hazel as a character grow, and see what other tales they could tell. I mean, again, it could just well, I'll put it this way. If the game ends here, the story has been told. You can't argue that this is not a dynamite story. Is it a heavy story? Yeah, it is, man. There are certain instances, again, just watch some of your favorite podcasts. We all had emotional like derivatives from this. Like there was a particular point in the game for me that was like super heavy, bro. Like I was crying like a baby, and for others, the same thing. But DJ Birdo, thank you, brother, for the generosity. We truly appreciate it here. And of course, listen, folks, if you enjoyed the show, hit the like button. If you're feeling super generous, you want to share this out in the socials. I'm going to make 2 videos out of this later on this afternoon. I still have to put the 2 videos from last night together. I'll be doing that after I'm done here. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Breakfast with Boom, Cork and I, along with Fuzzy Belvedere, and I think it's just going to be the 3 of us. We'll be talking Titanfall 3. I have another topic that I'm writing, an original topic, as well. Well, if rest assured, if anything Oblivion happens, it's going to be the headline news for Breakfast with Boom tomorrow morning, and for good reason. But that's going to do it for us here. A big thank you to all of the super chats and channel member chats that continue to come in and support the channel. We truly appreciate the generosity. And for Cork and Simon and myself, we want to wish everyone a great Thursday. Again, enjoy gaming wherever you enjoy gaming. And of course, I'm going to close out the show, gentlemen and ladies, as I always do. And of course, this is something that was taught to me when I was real young, and I think that's incredibly important. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of X Vlog Live.